Welcome to the Forward Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Shepard, here with my co-host, Carrie.
Hello.
And we're jumping in this week talking about a topic. Actually, do you want me to just jump into this, or do you want to kind of...
You jump in with both feet.
I guess
I'm here for it.
I probably should have asked you first.
What?
Like, do you want to... sometimes we talk for a little while and then
we
kind of get warmed up to
Yeah.
it. I'm like, oh, tonight we're jumping right in.
And
Although
then
it is kind of late tonight.
You're about to give the title, and I'm like, whoa, ow, your chair.
Sorry. Anyways,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry about that. I was thinking just in my head right before we clicked on, I thought, man, this is the latest we have started a podcast in a long time.
Yeah, it's a late one. We have no school tomorrow, so our
which is
kids.
awesome.
I think everyone had at least one friend over. So we've doubled our kid population in our house. So we've got like 11 kids here.
We are packed in this place.
Yeah, and at least, I don't know.
Yeah, we do. I just counted because I was over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was like, wow, we have 11 kids
11
here.
kids. So if we make it through the night, it will be a miracle.
If we can make it through this podcast without it's some kid coming down or crying or
So
interrupting.
whatever you hear,
Yeah.
we're all okay. We're fine. It's just a madhouse here.
It's okay. It's okay. That's what life's all about. Like
Absolutely.
having fun. And
I was proud of you that this afternoon I was like, just so you know, before we go to church, there's no school and the kids want friends over to spend the night. And you were like, oh, and then immediately you were like, you know what though? Half my childhood was spending the night with cousins. And you had those good memories. So you jumped right in.
Yeah. My parents were really awesome at, that's going to be too loud. I'll go up. My parents were really awesome about allowing us to have those friendships. Our house was kind of the hangout spot. Like everyone loved to come to our house.
Mm-hmm.
Like they loved it. So, if the Shepherd home can be that,
apparently we are.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Well,
keep talking for a second. Let me run up here.
While you go do that, I'll introduce the topic. So tonight we're going to be talking about while he goes and cracks the whip on the children. We're going to be talking about when leaders fall. That's the title of the podcast tonight. So we're talking about when you are in a situation where your pastor or whatever it may be, a youth pastor or something like that, has a moral failure, and how to handle that and how to process it and how to move forward. Because I think so much is said about the actual situation and the actual leader, and then we just forget about the whole church family he's been leading or the youth group. And it's kind of like this void of...
I know. And we might not make
they're
it
not
through this,
listening.
baby.
They're not
Keep
obeying.
going.
They're listening. They're not obeying. It's kind of this void of, hey, everyone is, talking about what happened and no one's teaching us how to move forward from it. And that's not to say no one's teaching you, but maybe it is. I mean, maybe you're in a ministry or in a church where it just kind of happens and everybody deals with it and picks up the pieces on your own, and you don't really get anyone speaking into how to move forward. So we just want to give some tips and tricks. We've been through this. We've been there where, our pastor had to resign suddenly and we were like left reeling, and it's a very scary and confusing and like kind of lost place to be. So maybe we can help you out a little bit and just give you some tips on how to move forward.
Yeah. And it might not be there. So don't tune out if it's, you've never been through this situation, or you say, oh, that's weird. Like we tune into this podcast and we've never heard anything like this. It could be, it might not be a moral failure. A lot of times people just step down, but it could be a boss. It could be a mentor. It could be hurt in a family.
Yeah.
A lot of times there are these moments, and the reason that Carrie and I are kind of bringing this up right now is, number one, there's a lot of people in our circle that over the last month we have seen 4 different men that we know that have fallen. They got into sin, and because of that sin, they were no longer able to carry out their calling by God in a pulpit and or in a ministry. So it really is fresh on our hearts. And because our hearts are burdened, the Forward podcast is always here to help drive people forward.
Yeah,
We want to
absolutely.
encourage and help people.
Yes.
So when we see a subject that's not like, oh, this is a cool tagline, let's jump in. Carrie and I, our heart really is to try to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of good people that know how to handle situations like this. And then we have seen over the last several weeks, there's a lot of immaturity.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of foolishness that takes place as well.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't think of the whole realm. They just think of, let's jump in and let's. I'm thinking about me, and we'll hit both kind of sides tonight, because there really are two sides. There's one side, it's like we just want to know what on all the information and gossip. We don't know who's in it. We just want to know. And then there's another side that could be a bad balance as well. That's just everybody mind your own business, and we brush this under the rug, and let's just keep it quiet.
Right.
And so we really kind of want to bring out both sides, because we feel like there is a balance that can come out.
Absolutely.
And these situations ought to be handled with maturity, with spiritual people who are leading people to healing and restoration and the truth. And that's mighty important as well.
Yes, absolutely. And if you don't mind, let's go backwards through our notes, because I feel like that it would be better to end.
Yeah, it's fine.
On the one I typed out first. My bad.
The end. Oh, let's not start there.
Yeah.
For sure. Go for it.
So firstly, we just want to cover, it's okay to process, and it's okay to decide if action is needed on your part. And I guess this would apply more if you are in a church or in a ministry where this has taken place, and your pastor, whether it's for moral reasons or, it's sudden or whatever, has to suddenly resign, and the church is kind of left picking up the pieces. It's okay to process it. And I do feel like, I speak for our denomination specifically, because that's all I've ever known. Baptists aren't really great at processing.
Yeah, we're not.
We are one or the other. We're either gossiping about it and wanting all the details, or we're brushing it under the rug and just, nobody look this way, ignore it, just move on, and there's no processing that takes place. And I think it's really important to process what happens. I think it's okay, especially if you're involved in that ministry and it was your pastor, your youth pastor, your leader, pastor's wife, whatever it may be. It's okay to ask some questions.
Yeah.
I mean, you've had your family there. You've trusted this man to give spiritual counsel, to preach the word, to go through and, marry your children off to spouses, or, preach their graduation ceremony. I mean, pastors are such a huge part of Christianity in our day-to-day lives, right? And we can speak that because we are. We're going to graduation ceremonies. We're doing all this. And so this man is not just, somebody that you hear once a week. Most families that are in churches like this are heavily involved, and the pastor's family plays a huge role in their lives and the lives of their children. So it's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to say what happened, and is there anything we could have done to help or prevent? Does our ministry have guardrails in place even for leaders? Do we have accountability for leaders? Is there a system set up where a leader feels like if he's beginning to struggle with sin, he has someone to go to and to talk to and to figure this out? Like, I feel like it's okay. I shouldn't say I feel like it is okay to process in the way of questioning. And I know, people outside your ministry and your church, they're going to want the gory details. We're humans. You do. It's curiosity. It's like, what happened, But if you're inside the ministry, please don't be ashamed or embarrassed. Like, oh, I don't, I don't know firsthand what happened, so I can't ask. No, if your family was in this ministry, it's okay to ask, and it's okay to get, clarity and all that. And I feel like as a parent, I would want to know, and I would want to say, is this somewhere I can trust moving forward to keep my family? And to find out that information and get the questions answered that you need, that's okay.
Yeah, it's really good. I love the way that you put that. I don't even need to add to it. Process and decide. I think that's so perfect. If I had to add anything, I would just say, in situations where, especially over the last week or so, where men step out of ministry and it's someone that's really well known. Okay, it's just well known. I think there there is the human side that is just common sense that we all need to take a chill pill and realize people are going to talk.
Yeah.
People are going to want to know.
Yep.
It is, we live in a world where everybody shares their business anyways.
Yeah.
So people are going to be curious. They're going to know. And that's at the time and a moment you think of the church, think of that church family, and they've probably gone through a hard time. So you want to be careful in that, you're not hurting that church even more.
Right.
Unless, and I would just say, this is just a caveat, but sometimes that church needs to go through things like this because they've turned a blind eye, or there's been no accountability, or they have enabled a man to get in a financial situation or in a moral situation. It's just been, well, it's just kind of we just turn a blind. Okay, well, then that church is being foolish as well.
Right.
And what they need to understand is, especially the leader that fell, that's not a time that you circle the wagons, and we don't want people to know, like, well, you wanted people to know you when you traveled the country.
Right.
And you
there.
wanted people to know you when you taught in the Bible colleges. And you wanted people to know you when you sold your books. And all of a sudden you fall in sin. It's like,
Right
well, nobody
there.
needs to know. Well, I'm sorry. That's not the way it works. You had a platform and you lost your platform.
Preach.
But you still have a platform. And people are going to want to know. So that is life. Like, Ananias and Sapphira, I mean, it's a pretty big story in the Word of God that everybody reads about. Like, you sinned, you fell, you died, that's it. And everybody's like, oh, we don't need to talk about this, and this is none of your business. And well, it is to an extent, not to the extent where you hurt people, or you're belligerent online, or you're foolish, or you're just a troll.
Yeah.
But people are going to be curious. And so now we're hearing statements of, everyone keep your opinions to yourself and mind your own business. Well, some of these leaders lately have a massive platform.
That's
and they
right.
have wanted to pour into our lives as young pastors. So don't take a step back and like, well, we need our privacy. No, you've been lying for years. You've cheated for years. You've stole money for years. And now it comes out, and all of a sudden it's, well, we don't want anybody to know. That's not the way it works. So when we do learn about this for younger pastors that are out there, or for Christians in general, here's what you should do. When people are trying to control the narrative, which they always are, it's always, okay, let's circle the wagons. We got to damage control. No, you sinned. God's going to step in judgments. It's going to be had whether we like it or not. But this is a moment when we begin to learn. We take what we are seeing and we learn from it. Take heed lest you fall.
That's right.
Number one, we learned anyone can fall.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can sin. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. There are none righteous, no, not one. So this is not a moment of like, well, I knew this was going to happen. No, it's okay, honey, we need to check up on ourselves. Like,
That's
are we
right.
good with each other?
That's right.
Every pastor that's watching these guys that are stealing money from churches, okay, this is a moment to say, do we have checks and balances in our church?
Right on.
Do I have way too much control of credit cards and checks going out? And what about this secretary or the CFO? Like, it's not a time, it's introspective needs to come in these moments. And this is a moment not to gawk at, oh, we knew this was coming, or I never liked that guy anyways. You know, he's a punk, or I knew something was wrong. It's a time to just say, if these people can fall, so can I.
Yeah.
So God, where do I need to armor up? Or God, where do we as a church need to look at having some other, standard operating procedures in place to where we're not doing this and we're finding ourselves alone in discipleship, or it's a male and a female together alone in an office, or too much flirting going on with text messaging, whatever the case might be. I think it's a time that you come together and we'll get to this in a moment, and help heal people, restore people, but you also realize it's a great moment to peek into your own self. And am I right with God, my wife? Are we right with the bank? So that we don't come into this same problem down the road as well.
Absolutely. I had some notes to say on that topic, but you covered it all. I love it. I could not agree more. And I will just say out there, for pastors and pastors' wives, this is not something to be taken lightly, like, oh, we're leading this people and we're just, we're so passionate and we love it. And that's great. You might love it. Loving something does not mean you're right with God while you're doing that. Like you can love singing and performing or speaking and still your heart is not right with God. I actually told my husband this afternoon, I was talking to this man and his wife in our church, and they are not embarrassed to say, like, well, are you right with God? Like, are you having your quiet time? Like, she just texted me, I think it was last week, and she goes, I'm praying that, as you go to speak at Camp Kobiak, and the sweet text, God will give you the words, blah, blah, blah. The things we say to each other. At the end, she was like, I'm specifically praying that you have your quiet time with God each day. And I was like, hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And she's like, are you having your quiet time with God? And it cracked me up. And I was like, right on though. And then her husband asked me today, like, how have you been doing? And do you feel like you're staying close with the Lord? I love it. Like, that's some accountability that honestly, I can't even tell you if anybody else has asked me that while we've been here. And that was like, and it brought up discussion in our own lives. Like, we need to ask each other more, which we do. And you always have been very good about asking our family, like, are you right with the Lord? Are you having prayer time? Whatever. But even more so, it sheds the light on it. It does. Like, the accountability practices in our own lives as leaders is vitally important. And I love how you highlighted the fact, and I will just chime in on that. I am so sick and tired to death, and I've had it up to my eyeballs with other leaders jumping in and saying, nobody needs to be gossiping about this, the slander that's going on. And I love what you said. Look, this dude put himself out there. These people, these leaders, men and women, they sell books, they speak out, they pump themselves up to big crowds. And then as soon as they want everybody to speak in their name when it's good. But as soon as it's not good, it's like, oh no, don't gossip. Don't gossip. It's like, no. You don't get to say that. Right. You don't get to manage your reputation now. You managed it before and look where you're at now. Mm-hmm. So now it's everybody else's turn. And that's called life. That's called judgment. And it's not that it's ours to execute, but it's natural that humans pile on to like what's going on, right. And I'm not saying it's right to gossip, but I am saying there's a time and a place for all of us to ask questions. And if you've been a major leader with big crowds of people, the time is now.
Right. I think that's a good time to look up the definition of gossip, because that's what we've lost. We think because people talk that we automatically associate that with gossip.
I do.
And it's not.
I know.
It's not. So it's you could chuck people under the bus really quick by just saying you shouldn't be gossiping about this. But we're not gossiping. People just talk. People ask questions. People want to know. These were people who had major influence in our lives.
That's
and
right.
They wanted that. They bought in, and we sold out. And so an explanation needs to be given. And there are churches that do a fantastic job of like, hey, pray for us while we're healing. Here's what happened. We're making a statement. And that's wonderful. And some people will talk about it. There are those that for sure take it way too far. Mm-hmm. And then it's my turn to get out my grievances because 15 years ago we left the church and here's why. Okay. Like that sometimes you go a little bit too far.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Agreed.
You're gone from the church. You don't have a lot of influence in those people anymore. Now it's just a good time to pray for them, find out what happened, and then move on. I just feel like at times it's leaders who come in and because they can't control the narrative and they can't stop people because of social media, they get in a panic. So they just want a broad stroke. They want to paint everybody as gossips who talk about the situation. And it's just not true. I mean, look, we are here on a podcast that reaches thousands of people, and we're not naming names. We're not gossiping. We're trying to help people to process a major event that took place in our life, and there are real hurts that take place.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that and the families in just a moment, but this is a moment without a doubt that we ought to analyze who we're following.
Yes.
A movement, a lifestyle, a person, a man. And it once again, when these events take place, catastrophic. It's awful. It's sin. It's horrible. There's a lot of collateral damage that takes place. But I think it's a good reset, and everyone needs to hit the reset button. We hold people up as gods. Some of these men, it makes me a little bit angry in a right way. righteous indignation. It's
I love
true
it.
in this one that
I love it.
you can go for years and years and years, over decades, some of them, and you're stealing money or you're having affairs, and you've been the hypocrite that stood in the pulpit and you're preaching
Mm.
and you're teaching, and you're sometimes a very pious attitude that comes out of men like this. And I believe it's because of the sin. I think it's burning them up on the inside, because the Holy Spirit is, if they're truly saved, is that war is taking place.
Mm.
And you go for years and years and years and years, you pump yourself up, and there's too many of our circles that hold these men in a high regard,
Yeah.
that even when it comes out that they've been caught, the wagon circle, and it's like, oh, you are God. There's no way this happened. Oh, they were triggered in such a way, or there was an entrapment. It was entrapment, and it's like, no, they're sinners.
Yeah.
And it once again is a reset. You've always been there, which is wonderful. I've learned a lot from you, but sometimes we hold pastors and we hold leaders up as if they're a god.
Yeah.
And it's a good reset to remember, nope, nobody's God.
Yeah.
Nope, no, they are men just like that. They may be a pastor to 75 people or 75,000, but they are still a man.
That's right.
They still have human flesh. They still sin. And I think once again, this is just really great to analyze our motives with alma maters and preachers and leaders and authors, that they are humans just like we are.
Yeah.
They're men just like we are. They fail just like we do. But when we get this God complex, as we have with these pastors, this is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
That it's devastation, and then it's warring and fighting, and people are going to die and go to hell, because for the last 2-3 weeks, everybody's online and they're fighting each other and they're arguing, and they're on Reddit, and they're on Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, and there's no introspective, and there's no healing. There's no let's move on. There's no forward podcast that's pushing us forward.
And
no,
processing.
It's just there's zero processing care.
Yeah.
And I think for anybody listening to this podcast, love your pastor, but more than that, pray for him. Pray for him, because he's human. And every person who's in ministry, every husband, wife, and teenager listening to this podcast right now, pray.
Yeah.
Take heed lest you fall. You're not above this.
That's right.
And in these moments, I feel like it's once again, we've got to come back from this obsession with Sign My Bible and the big speaker and you're so amazing. You're so amazing. What about Jesus?
Yeah.
Let's not forget about him. We're
Yeah.
just a vessel. I stood in the pulpit today and with hundreds of people, and I didn't preach Thomas Shepard. I preached what thus saith the Lord and his word and his book. And we started this podcast if 5 people listen, great. That's all we want. It's not, we're still in our living room. Here we are. And yet our desire is not man worship to Thomas and Carrie.
No.
Our desire is our hearts and our lives point people to Jesus.
Yeah.
I went a little long there. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's so good. So, so good. I had a young girl, I'm saying young, she's in her 20s, young to us, but she wrote me on Instagram today and just gave me a lot of praise for myself personally. And I just sat there and read that and thought, the fact that anyone can still think that about me when I know, God knows, I am a sinner just like anyone else, but I just sat there and thought, Lord, praise your name.
Yeah.
That anyone would think good about this sinner and about this fool, that I'm just hoping I get anything right in this life, and anything good out of me is Jesus Christ and him only. But please don't be afraid to love your pastors and leaders, but also love them enough to let them be human and hold them accountable in a loving way. Don't be afraid to ask your pastor's wife, hey, can I support you in getting more alone time with the Lord? How can I pray for you to get that each day? We all need that. And you're busy, and I know you are. Are you getting that? Is there something, how can I encourage you? My ladies have bought me So many devotional books, but I love it. And I'm burning through them. I've probably received 4 or 5 in the last year. They're passionate about me getting my devotions in.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. Do that for your leaders.
Mm.
Like, be passionate about their personal time with God. And then also, like exactly like you said, are you following them? Okay, they're meant to lead, but they're only human. We've got to be following Christ first and foremost.
Yeah.
We have to keep that priority. And if somebody in your church falls, that's quote unquote high profile, they're a leader, they're a Sunday school teacher, they're a deacon, they're a trustee, they're a pastor, they're a music director. Don't let it rock your faith. If your faith was in them, it's going to fall.
Right.
You've got to let it strengthen your faith.
Yeah.
You can't let it mess your faith up. You've got to let it strengthen it so that you're following Christ even more closely. And then you can step into a leadership role and say, guys, they're human. Let's love them. If they're repentant, let's restore them.
Right.
If repentance is there. And if they're not, we continue to pray until it gets there. But actually, I want to butt in really quick and ask this. I guess it'd be very helpful, I think, for you to tell some of the pastors out there some guardrails and some accountability measures that you've taken in this church and that you've set up, because I think I've seen a lot of pastors. I've been a pastor's daughter since I was 8. I've been a pastor's wife for 20 years. I've seen a lot. And I think you have an excellent system set up for your accountability and the trust that we all put in you. So share some of that with us.
Yeah, I'll run through pretty quickly. We're getting long here already, and we still got to get these steps. So, but let me run through a couple for sure. It's always finances. I say always. That's loosely. Most of the time, it's finances and or immorality. So it's the female gender and it's finances. So guardrails that I've set up in both ministries that I've been in is we have basically a trustee, like a CFO, that takes care of our money. And I'm involved, but I don't write checks.
You don't sign checks?
I don't sign checks at all. I have a credit card, and at the end of every 2 weeks, all receipts are handed in with an explanation of what these purchases were. And then we have a treasurer, we have trustees. So I'm involved and I'm over the finances.
Do you look at tithing records?
Zero, never.
You don't know who tithes?
Never have. Never asked, never have. And again, it's not bad if somebody does. That's just my preference. I've never, for me, I've never wanted to be like, oh, can't lose them. That's a big tither in our church. That's between them and God. And so
I love that.
I've always left it alone. On the female side, I never counsel ladies alone. If by chance a woman is at the church and needs to talk, I'll leave my door open, and I have Pastor Dan and or Nicole that I let them know, hey, ladies coming in, teachers coming down, whatever. I leave my door open, and they're right there. So
Nice.
I'm never behind a closed door.
Their offices
alone.
are right next to yours.
There are.
Yeah.
And again, I don't shut the door.
Right.
So
if anyone walked by, they could see straight in.
They absolutely.
Yeah.
And I never would. Just the thought of opening a door, even with someone, that I would know very well, and having somebody else there see me open a door and me and a female are coming out would be devastating to me, because that's all it takes is just one accusation.
Right.
That's all it takes.
Right.
And so I'm very careful. And then I train our staff to do the same. I am all the time very careful at, hey, here's things you need to be careful in, and here's what you need to look out for. And we go over those things over and over and over again. And those two things are the main things that I keep in front of me all the time.
Yeah. A couple extra side things that we are by no means saying, this is the only right way. It's just, again, little guardrails that you and I have set up. One thing is you don't even have a secretary, which is actually... It has annoyed me for years. I'm like, you need a secretary.
I asked you to be it
and
5
he's
times.
asked
You
me
would never.
so many times. And as soon as I was like, maybe I'll do it, then my business came up for sale, and I was like, I'm going to buy a business instead.
Thanks a lot.
But which actually leads into another thing I was going to say. I do not work for the church, and that's a guardrail I've set up in my life. It's not that I would never. I don't want to say that, because as soon as I say that, I'll go on and do it. But for now, when we moved to this ministry, I just thought, I want our church to be somewhere that I love to come. I don't want to come in and be worried about the finances or this or that.
Yeah.
I want to love the people. I know every church can't do that. Some churches are smaller and the pastor's wife has to pitch in and help out in the office, and that's totally fine. We are in a situation where I don't have to.
Yeah.
And that has also been a blessing because I'm able to pop in anytime you are there and just be your wife.
Right.
And just pop in and say like, hey, I'm here to take you out to lunch. And it's kept the church side of our lives a little more like a business for you, in my view.
Right.
Because like that's your job and I have my job. And so when I'm there, it's nice that our relationship is a little more on the marriage side,
right,
and not so much, working. Again, that's totally not a command or anything we've done because it's biblical. It's just what we've decided, and it works for us in our marriage and for our accountability to one another.
I love it. I love it. So, Carrie, if you don't mind, let me run through, just for listeners who might say, okay, someone fell. So what are steps that we are supposed to take?
Yeah.
Because we can all give opinions. And again, this is totally our opinion. This is not Bible at all.
Yeah.
But I think, Kara, we have some great steps that we can take. So let me talk from, this will be more brief, but from a church perspective. So the church just went through hurt.
Yeah.
A leader fell and is gone. Here's some, I think, just good tips. First of all is communicate very well. Too often, people in the church feel like the inner circle knows and no one else does.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I understand narratives, and you're trying not to hurt people and things, but people are naturally curious. They tithe, they give, they serve. They need to know.
Yeah,
like communicate very well. Then allow the congregation to mourn. It cannot be, oh, they fell. Okay, you need to get over it. And the next week you just move on. Like some people just find out. And the church, there is a mourning process. And so mourn together, cry together. See somebody in the corner, oh, there's sister so-and-so crying again. Well, this is probably a man that she loved deeply. And he married her kids and buried her husband and has been there through a lot of tough times. So I would say, first of all, communicate well. Allow people to mourn, get the church together and pray. It's so important. Like pray. And then after that, move forward. Explain the process of here's what we're going to do. So they're going to move out, and just pray for their family. But after a couple weeks, that's when it's time just to move on. Here's my advice is don't come in every week and you're beating everybody up. Oh, we know gossip's going on and we know this and we got to stop this. Like if you communicate well, then that will not happen. Then let people mourn, bring the church together in prayer, and then give a plan of here's what we're doing moving forward. We've been in those situations before, and I never wanted it to be where people come up like, hey, what's going on? Like it's been 4 weeks. We don't know.
Yeah, what happened?
And oftentimes for some reason it becomes a secret society. Pulpit committees do that. Like it's all of a sudden we get some power and it's like, we don't want anyone to know. Well, again, we can't do that. So I would say for the church, communicate, allow people to mourn, pray, and then move forward with a plan. For people who are on the outside like us, none of these happen. We just happen to know 4 people who were close to us, and we've heard of them. We've been with them. We've seen meetings. It's been anything from finances all the way down to affairs for over a decade. So for us, here's what I would say. If you're on the outside, is stop and pray. Just for real. Like we all say, I'm going to pray for you. People don't. They just don't. So write it down. Quick tip. Really stop and pray. Like Satan just got a big victory. He just won a massive battle. He's taking people down. Number 2 is ask questions the right way. It's okay to ask questions. Like you and I asked a lot of questions. We were texting people and, man, what happened? And really, and
I'm not about to be left in the dark.
And honestly, Kara, it's okay if you're not being malicious and you're not using as ammo to hurt other people. Like it's okay just to ask questions
Yep.
and get some information. Again, one of the leaders here recently, like I heard preach dozens of times and
Mm-hmm.
was in meetings, and the Bible college I went to, like he was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember the last conversation I had with him. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay to ask some questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really want to know.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to ask questions. And you said this already, but you kind of went through it quick. But after that, go into a mode of restoration,
Yeah.
because it can't be just, again, let's all blog about this for 4 weeks. Like there is Sister Susie in the church that's really hurt, and
Mm-hmm.
she had nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
And the whole world's talking about her church, and they're tearing them up. And she just goes to church, gives her tithing offering, gives missions, works in the nursery, loves people, and at some point, think of those people too.
Yeah.
Um, there's always collateral damage, and that is the man's family.
Mm-hmm.
Or it might be the spouse that committed sin. The spouse, the opposite spouse is going through a lot of hurt.
Yeah.
They're uproot. Nobody thinks about the kids that have to
Mm.
uproot, and they
Yeah.
have to move, and they have to find a new school.
Mm.
Oh, and grandkids that are affected,
Yeah.
and hundreds of teenagers that I want to be like Pastor so and so, and they, because of sin, killed all of that.
Mm.
The collateral damages, there's a lot of hurt there, and very quickly we need to tune back into thinking about those people.
Yeah.
That wife's going through a lot.
Yeah.
Like she didn't ask for this.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
husband.
Or husband.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think there's more there, and they probably knew more.
Mm-hmm.
And they were a culprit to it, and they turned a blind eye. And as foolish as that is, they're still going through it.
Yeah.
And there needs to be prayer. There needs to be asking questions, and then go into a mode of restoration.
Yeah.
And I would say, I just want to be very clear on this: the restoration needs to be focused on the church for sure.
Yes.
That's where the restoration and the prayers ought to be poured into, because people were
Yes.
hurt.
Yes.
Alma maters were hurt. People who sat in these classes were hurt. That's restoration. If a man is repentant, then at some point, without a doubt, needs to be restored. Like
Yeah.
we need to pray for him. In every situation that I can think of, the last four, a person was caught.
So the repentance is
They didn't
not
step forward.
obvious.
Kara, they didn't step
they
forward.
were not sorry.
Hey, I sinned. I've been in sin. Nope, you got caught.
And I
And-
hate, it's like hard too when they say something. It's like, well, I mean, are you sorry? Or are you just sorry you got caught? Because it's not, it just doesn't ring true.
Can't be the judge. We don't know.
I know.
Like we don't know.
I
Some
really
people,
wish I could.
absolutely. The prophet looked at David and said, "Thou art the man," and
Yeah.
David immediately was repentant.
Yeah.
The prophet also looked at Saul and "You're the man," and he was like, "Oh, sorry, I got caught, but I was doing it for God." Yeah, I was kind of like,
So true.
there's two spirits that come out. We can't be the judge.
Yeah. You're
So the only
right.
thing we can do is concentrate on the people and the church and
You're
the
right.
ministries that need to be restored.
Yeah.
We take into account we've got to get some barriers up, some standards in our life, so this doesn't happen
Yeah.
to us. And then eventually, yes, concentrate on the man. What fires me up is when we automatically go into, we need to restore this man. Okay, well, a week ago he got caught and he was preaching in the pulpit and he didn't care about his sin. Like that will come. But there's a lot of other
Yeah.
people that need some prayer and some help and some grace and some mercy.
Yeah.
Than just let's all concentrate on the man because he's the one that made us a lot of
on
money.
restoring his reputation and his testimony. It's like,
I mean, he blew it.
yeah, he can
Yeah.
sit and simmer for a while.
Yeah. We're not being mean, not being
No.
malicious. I'm just saying there's a lot of people who need help and restored, and his family. And we're not the
Yes.
judge. So
Yeah.
a person could absolutely be repentant right out. And I do believe in restoration. I do believe that people can be used of God. And
Yeah.
But let's not just because once again he was our God, little g. We need to put our time in and get him back as soon as possible.
Yeah. That's not
That's
right.
when you need to reevaluate, and you really need to think through. You're probably a little bit more in a cult than you are a church when that's taking place.
Absolutely.
So back off, re-examine, and come to that place where restoration, it ought to be there and it will be there. God's a big God. He gives a lot of mercy and a lot of grace. But I feel like the restoration needs to be concentrated immediately on people,
That's
the
right.
church, the testimony of God. I think we forget sometimes we're more worried about the testimony of the family and brushing it under the rug more than we are the testimony of Christ.
Oh my.
And at some point, move forward. If in 3 weeks you're still airing all your baggage because you were at this church 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, then there's a wrong spirit in your heart.
Right.
You're not helping the cause of Christ. You're now hurting it.
And also, let me interject and say, it annoys me when people pile on social media sites and say, well, we knew something was wrong because 5 years ago this happened. And it's like, well, why didn't you come forward and say something?
I know.
Like, if
I know.
more than one of you would have done that, and maybe they did, but it obviously didn't go anywhere. Where, like, if something like that happened, don't stop until some accountability is had. And maybe that's needs to be said for people out there who have some questions about your own ministry. Like, if there are questions, especially of a moral or financial nature that could affect, the efficacy of your pastor being in the pulpit and being right with the Lord, like, ask questions. Don't wait till everybody's fallen and the place is burning down and you're sitting there, roasting a marshmallow saying, I knew it. Like, well, you could have helped us out.
And to your point, there probably are a lot of people who have. They did step forward. And unfortunately, there's a culture in a lot of churches that it's a cancel culture and you're not allowed to ask questions.
Yeah,
and
that's
because
sad.
you did, then you're kicked out. And
Yeah.
it is sad, and here's a pretty strong word, but it's actually pretty pathetic.
It is.
Like,
it's unbiblical.
If no one is able to hold us as pastors accountable, then we have set up a cult and we are the God of that cult.
100%.
You need accountability. People ought to be able to ask questions. We once a month, you hate it, but we once a month give an update on a Wednesday night of all of our finances, what we took in, what went out, what was our major purchases.
Yeah.
And at the end of that meeting, our treasurer does an amazing job, and anyone can go up and ask questions like, hey, what about this? What about that? We're very open books because people give and invest, and it's not so people can give with strings attached. That's the opposite. It's accountability. And people ought to have relationships with these men that they can feel like and say. But once again, oftentimes where these things are taking place, the pastor became the leader that told everybody where the kids could spend the night and what ladies could wear and what version of the Bible you could use. And all the way through, he became the Holy Spirit so that when the Holy Spirit was questioned, then it's like, well, you'd probably ought to just go down the street and keep your mouth shut. And that's such a bad culture for churches. And it's a shame. And I pray that Crosspoint would never, the church that I pastor, would ever come to that place. I want a place that's open and free and people love to worship God. And it's not, if I were to pass away tomorrow, Crosspoint goes right on because it's all about Jesus. It's all about the gospel. And again, it's not that I'm not harping on any churches, care. What I'm saying is let's create a culture in our churches. And if you're in a Baptist church, then create that culture in that Baptist church that has that accountability, that has that love, and that does care for people enough that they don't have to air their dirty laundry 5 years, 10 years later because they brought it to someone's attention and they were kicked out of the church or they were not heard. And it was just, you're canceled, you're out. We've got to right that ship. We got to change that. And I praise the Lord for you because I feel like I married someone who has helped me in a lot of ways right that ship in our own lives. And we give grace and mercy and love to each other to be able to expel that into other people's lives as well.
I appreciate you too. This was several years ago. I think it was not long after we moved here, but we were just talking about the seriousness of taking a brand new church and getting to know new people. It's a whole new family. And I remember just, you kind of laughed and said, we have got it made here. This is everything we've ever dreamed of because we were just so happy to get this church. And you jokingly said, you better not mess up and ruin this for me. And I laughed and I said, I was born and bred not to mess up. I have 11 preachers in my family. You don't mess up. And we were both
Yeah.
going back and forth and kind of laughing. I said, for real though, I said, you better never cheat on me. And you said, I'll never forget it because you were serious. And I was like, oh, I thought we were kind of joking. But you said, I wouldn't cheat on you. It's not that I won't cheat on you because I don't love you. I mean, I love you, but I'm not going to cheat on you because I love Jesus. And I was like, man, that's awesome. Like that is, I mean, you can scare each other and say, if you ever cheat on me, I'm going to kill you or I'm going to leave or, and all the threats. But I love that you put that spiritual, like I mean, yes, I love you and I love the kids and we love our life, but I'm not going to cheat on you because I love Jesus.
Yeah.
And that was like, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. And I think when you start to lose that in someone, that's a huge opportunity to say, look, I love our life and I love our ministry, but nothing is worth destroying and burning all of this to the ground.
Right.
Like, what can we do if you have a bad feeling or a red flag or a suspicion about your spouse or about your own self,
Right.
about your own self? Like, get on that the very first time.
Yeah.
Get on that
So
and
good.
set up boundaries and accountability for yourselves.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just man, I'm soaking that in. I
Yeah.
feel like we say so often when these situations come up and people fall, and I'm guilty of this because I was even guilty of it this past week, where we say, wow, he gave up everything. He lost his ministry, his testimony, his family. Honestly, shame on us. It's why are we so concerned with a person when really the cause of Christ is what really suffered?
Yeah.
Like the name above all names was hurt. And now it's being dragged through the mud once again because there's the naysayers and there's the haters that sit on the outside, and the demons are involved in this. That as soon as it happens, here they come.
Yep.
And they have an army and they come marching in, and once again it turns people who are lost away of wow. And so it's super sad that people don't think through the consequences of losing everything that they've built for 50 years. But more than that is the name Jesus Christ was hurt.
Yeah.
Like it was dragged through the mud and mocked every time they stood in the pulpit and preached, knowing full well they're not right with God.
Yeah.
And then it's circle the wagons, brush it under the rug. How hush hush can we make this? No. Come out, let people ask questions.
Yeah.
Let people talk through and mourn over this.
Yeah.
And then let's move forward for the cause of Christ.
Yeah.
Like he's coming again. If he comes back this week, I don't want Jesus to find me sitting on Facebook, reading blog posts and giving my opinion, my dissertation on why I think. No, I want him to find me a faithful man of God telling people how awesome he is.
Charlie Kirk and his death really swung into motion a huge resurgence of young people back towards Christianity and back towards church attendance, and even crazy people like Kanye West out there and several other celebrities who are now claiming the name of Christ are pushing the lost towards curiosity. And it is this movement. And I knew as soon as I heard about Charlie Kirk, I was like, oh man, this is going to be a moment. And it was. And then as soon as that moment hit fever pitch, I thought to myself, Satan is planning. He's not going to let this go. Yeah. And in this year alone, the number of pastors that should be capitalizing on this moment in our culture to at least reap as many souls as we can for Christ. It's like somebody in a volleyball game, they set up the spiker and it's like Charlie Kirk set us up. And it's extremely disappointing that Baptist pastors have fumbled the ball and have missed the shot. Yeah. And it's like, and of course, there's way more good out there than there is bad. I know we're kind of highlighting the bad tonight, but that's what this podcast episode is about. So we're going to. But at a time, and I say this to end it this way, don't be one. Yeah. Don't be one. Don't be, while others among us fall, stand faithful, stand true.
Yeah, that's good, Care. I love that. Hey, we just got to keep each other accountable, and I know it's emotional because, and we name Baptist. It's every denomination, but it's close to our heart. It's why we're having this conversation
Yeah.
because this hits home with us because you just see people. Everyone's on this bandwagon, and if we're not careful, we think, oh, Satan is winning, he's winning, but we fight back
Yeah.
and we're on the winning side. Greater is
Absolutely.
he that is in you than he that is in the world.
Yeah.
I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me. Like, here
Yeah.
we come. Like, you listen to this Ford podcast, armor up, let's go, because we
Yeah.
got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are in these churches, maybe you're listening to this, and let me tell you, I'm sorry. I
Mm.
hate that this is taking place, and I
Yeah.
mean it with all my heart. I'm very sorry.
Mm.
But recover, and you will, because
Absolutely.
Jesus is a great, incredible God, and
Yeah.
he's never failed us. Let's
That's
remember
right.
that.
Yep. Keep
Men
your
and
eyes on him.
yeah, men and women fail. Oh man, our God's
Yeah.
never failed us.
Keep your eyes
So,
on him.
hey, hope this has been an encouragement. Somewhat.
Hope you enjoyed our
Yeah.
podcast.
This is
Real
probably
depressing.
wow, 50 minutes. It's not though. I feel like it's not.
No.
It's a darker subject that we've chosen to talk about tonight, but I
Needs to
think
be said.
it does. I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of people are wondering, what do we do? And so use this, send it to somebody else. Let us know your thoughts. Again, this is
Mm-hmm.
not gospel. This is our opinion. It's
Mm-hmm.
our podcast. We can say it. And
Mm-hmm.
but our what our goal and agenda is to be an
Yeah.
encouragement and to help to you.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to add?
Just thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Share this with someone if you know they're hurting and need a little perspective. And we are excited to be back with you again next week.